that has a very important lesson for all of us to remember. Oh, thanks, Otto.
Oh, Otto.
Thanks, Otto. Kind of fun. Thank you, Otto.
I wonder if she's Otto, fuck off. The fuck, Otto. We're doing a segment. What the fuck is wrong with? Stop giving me tacky dollar store shit. Otto, what the fuck is wrong with you? Chill. Hey everyone, it's time for them kids. Oh, I should put my costume on. Hold on.
Look at your phone. Have you ever wondered where it came from? Like, someone made it, but how?
Imagine for a second your phone suddenly turned into a pitchfork. Your classroom turned into a farm. And just like that, you're wearing wool tunics and scratchy stockings. This could have been your life.
But how did you?
Holy yikesy yikes. I haven't even gotten into the costume yet. Why? I didn't even have time to get all dressed up. You know? How am I gonna fit in with them kids? So this is PragerU teens, I should say. This one's a little bit more teeno-centric.
A video on a screen that has more complexity and technology than existed in all of Europe nearly 600 years ago.
Your phone and the technology around you didn't just pop into existence. It took time for the science to develop the technology. So, what got the ball rolling?
A revolution. Not a revolution of countries or George Washington's smolder or people singing in the streets.
Do you hear the people sing?
No. A revolution of ideas, of science.
Today on TVH History, we're taking a deep look at the past to find out what a few religious scientists...
So, we're going to talk about the socialization of these developments. Are we going to talk about how a lot of them are military developments that was brought in by the collectivization of our taxes to be able to pay for them? We're going to talk about that.
Some spinning planets and a tyrannical church had to do with America and the phone in your hand. Hey, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Lem.
And this is TVH History.
Imagine for a second that you want to create an app for your phone. An app that...
By the way, this shit is incredibly dangerous because this all has the aesthetics of something that's cool and shareable on the YouTubes, right? Like you won't even think about this as a PragerU segment. You'd be like, oh, this is just some funky information about where I get my smell phone from.
It tells you what dogs and cats are thinking.
She's trying to speak to me. I know it.
You're excited. You start telling everyone, your teachers, your friends, your librarian, about your pet translation idea. You start watching videos on YouTube about how to make an app and check out books from the library about animal behavior.
But then, as you're checking out the library, dun, 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 a librarian comes out of nowhere and hits you with an axe. Okay, it wasn't an actual axe, it was a book. A book about axes.
Hey, excuse me, man, you can't do that.
I'm just trying to see if it's possible.
No, it's not. It's not possible.
But
Stop!
Living in America, this situation seems pretty ridiculous. But the freedoms we have in America are more of an exception and not the rule. People being stopped from pursuing new ideas and truth is something that's always been a struggle historically. It still happens in some ways today, but it happened a whole lot more 600 years ago before the scientific revolution. So, where did it all begin?
The story of the scientific revolution goes way back, all the way to ancient times. In the 300s BC, there lived a Greek philosopher.
Oh, so we're going to go into classical liberalism. This is going to be fun. Tell me about the Enlightenment.
And Aristotle philosophized and wrote about, like, all the things. Pretty much all the things.
One of the things he wrote about was his belief that the Earth was actually at the center of the universe. Everything else revolved around it in perfect spherical orbits. By the Middle Ages, his views were adopted by the state church in Europe.
Over the centuries, the dictator Karens, also known as the state church leaders, gained a lot of power and connections to governments throughout Europe. And although Christianity had been a powerful force for good, some people used the power of the church, which acted practically as a tyrannical government, to try to control what other people thought.
These people wanted to punish those who disagreed with them, sometimes by imprisonment or even death. In 1543, a Polish churchman named Nicolaus Copernicus, who had spent years studying the night sky, published a book on the revolution of the celestial spheres. It flew in the face of what the world...
We're skipping over a ton of history, but you know, it's all right. It's PragerU, so we should do that. I did want to read out some quotes of the famous philosophers, though, just so we have an idea of what they were talking about. Some of the things. Aristotle. For that some should rule, and others be ruled, is a thing but not necessary, but expedient. From the hour of their birth, some are marked out for subjugation, others for rule. He was talking about slaves, by the way. Aristotle had a lot of justification for slaves and slavery. And indeed, the use made of slaves and for tame animals is not very different, for both with their bodies minister to the needs of life. Well, certainly Plato's got some better thoughts on the matter. Nature herself intimidates that It is just for the better to have more than the worse, the more powerful than the weaker, and in some ways she shows amongst men as well as other animals, and indeed amongst whole cities and races, that justice consists in the superior ruling and having more than the inferior. Well, what about Homer? Jove takes half the goodness out of a man when he makes a slave of him. Okay, well, how about the Christians? They're usually on better pages. Saint Augustine. Let's see this. The prime cause then of slavery is sin, which brings man under the dominion of his fellow. That which does not happen by slave, by the judgment of God, with whom there is no unrighteousness, and who knows how to award fit punishments to every variety of offense. What about Thomas Aquinas? For men of outstanding intelligence naturally take command, while those who are less intelligent, but a more robust physique, seem intended as nature to act as servants.
Always believed and started a revolution, the scientific revolution.
In the book, Copernicus claimed that the sun, not the earth, was the center of the solar system. Though his book was very important, it was still considered just a theory. More observations needed to be made to determine whether or not it was true. About a half century later, the Italian scientist Galileo would do just that, make observations.
Wow.
He was
What about talking about all the punishment these people like faced and the persecutions? Like some of them were they were murdered.
familiar with the work of Copernicus, but had a distinct advantage. He could actually look at the universe with a new invention, the telescope. He built a telescope and used it to observe the heavens. Also used his telescope to study the sun. Don't stare at the sun. He actually discovered that the planet Jupiter had moons that actually revolved around Jupiter itself and not around the Earth. And this seemed to confirm
Like, for these like Christian fundamentalists, that is the entire PragerU crowd, like, do you not understand the history of any of this and what all these people, like the amount of like suffering they had to endure to try and push back against the idea of that, like, we are this egocentric species of which we are the center of the universe, the known universe. It all evolves around man because we are built in the direct image of God, our savior. Like, some of these people were tortured. They were tortured for trying to point this out. And like, it's just one of those things that it's like, it's miraculous that like, it just didn't make sense. Like, if you were just observing the universe at night, like the idea that we were the center of the known universe, just, it didn't add up.
But some powerful Karens.
Oh yeah, let's not talk about the East. Let's not talk about all the wonders and inventions. None of that counts. None of that counts. Not a single part of it, all right? The Ottoman Empire did not discover shit all, okay? The Ottoman Empire did not discover or develop anything close to mathematics or any of the stuff that we observe in the known universe today. I mean, that stuff, it was just the white race. They were the ones who were smart enough to figure this out.
In the state church learned about Galileo's theories and weren't happy. By questioning Aristotle, Galileo was questioning their own authority and interpretation of the Bible. So they put him on trial and kept him in house arrest.
Around the same time, others in Northern Europe were doing the same thing as Galileo. German astronomer Johannes Kepler was also observing the universe and soon discovered that planets orbited the sun in elliptical, not perfect spheres, further undermining Aristotle's theory. Sorry.
I'm not gonna lie, as much as I want to rip into this, and I know they're just like obfuscating so much of history, but there is at least some slivers of truth to just the discovery and evolution of thought. My question is, where does it go?
But the second part of actually doing science is how we figure out what is true in the physical world. By using Bacon's scientific method, we find things to add to the collected knowledge. So all science is just a general body of knowledge that is collected in a systematic way.
Thanks to Copernicus,
True.
Galileo, Kepler, and Bacon, the scientific revolution was in full swing. Just as they had built upon the work of those before them, like Aristotle. He once read to a friend.
Amazing. So could we take this to its natural conclusion? Can we just extrapolate that to today? Because guess what? We're still doing this. There's still pushback. There's still pushback from you, from all your ilk. We're like, well, no, come on. There's just biological men and biological women. All right. Are we trying to separate gender and consider it a social construct? Okay. Are we trying to say that there are more than two sexes? And yeah, okay, fine. There's intersex people, but I don't really want to talk about that fact. Let's just talk about Copernicus and Galileo and all the wonders of invention that came from them.
Peter compelled them to explore creation. In his book Principia, Newton wrote, "This most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the council."
You know what's also pretty wild is that PragerU definitely had a meeting about this, right? They definitely sat down. I don't know if Dennis Prager came in there and he's like, hi everybody, Otto is not dead. And they were like, we need to be able to appeal to a new demographic. We got to get in on this whole kind of like punchy, edgy, informative YouTube clips. We got to get videos that will be shared, not by people who would normally share our kind of, you know, placid PragerU talking in front of the blue screen kind of shit, you know?
And dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. This being governs all things, not as the soul of the world, but as Lord over all.
And there you have it, the scientific revolution in whatever number of minutes it was. Now, here's the thing. We don't want to give the impression that Europe is the only place that science has flourished, because that just wouldn't be historically accurate. From Copernicus in Northern Europe to Guo Xiaojing in China to al-Badani in the Middle East, no one person, continent, or country has had an absolute monopoly on scientific discovery.
Hey, wow. I am surprised. Surprised. I mean, not impressed, but surprised.
But there were two things that were unique about the scientific revolution in Europe.
It's a footnote, you know, but a footnote is better than no note. I mean, the footnote is still more than I was expecting.
Number one, it was the first time that science presented a compelling challenge to institutional worldviews and authoritarian power.
But, yeah, could you imagine the but at the end of that? But white people definitely contributed more.
And number two, enormous progress was made in developing the scientific method, that thing that Bacon came up with, which was a system of processing information from experiments to add to the general body of scientific knowledge. Now, you may be wondering, what does this actually have to do with America?
These principles were powerful influences on the American experiment, and the American government was set up to challenge the status quo and institutional thought to freely pursue truth wherever it led, as well as better government and better policy, what Lincoln referred to as...
What? What? That's where this was all going? What weird revisionist history is this? America! America!
unfinished work. Don't get it because it's not finished. You gotta finish it.
And over
I'm surprised they're not all like fucking in agonizing pain from that fucking leap. Holy shit. Show us Jeff Bezos, Jeffrey Bezos.
Split the atom and land on the moon. The United States became proof that when people were free to use the scientific method, they achieved things that few thought were possible.
So, how does this actually
How does this apply to anything? Well, first off, we need to abolish social sciences. Social sciences are absolute garbage, all right? We can't ever talk about them. Social sciences just absolute dreck. Ugh. So let's just stick to the real sciences, the ones we respect.
apply to me or to you? Let's think about this. What would your life look like without the scientific revolution?
And why is it important to question what you're taught? Let us know in the comments below.
Thank you for watching this episode.
Like, okay, this costume could be more apropos for this whole segment because so much of this is just like, yeah, okay, let's make it fun and punchy and kind of quirky so people share it. And like, this is all kind of goofball shit, right? So instead of just being like, let us know what you want in the comments, sound off, subscribe, like, all that kind of shit, just make some weird sounds. All right, so let's do a take. Well, why don't you put the thing in the flame? No, that one's not gonna pass. No, just something else. But be weird and quirky. Like, I like where you're going with this. Come on, let's try it a little again. Okay, why don't you put the thing blop blip blip blop blip blop blip blop blop? Yeah. Oh, good one. Good. Okay. Yeah. Now let's take it. We got it. We got a good one. Cool. All right, let's go to it's time for some kids. All right, we didn't do PragerU for the kids. You've heard that Wu-Tang is for the children. All right, Wu-Tang is for the kids. Well, now PragerU's for the children. PragerU's for the kids. We've gone from our teenage years to our juvenile years.
Welcome to Otto's Tales. Story time brought to you by PragerU resource.
I can't stress this enough. Hashtag free Otto. Free Otto. We got to get Otto free. All right. Otto deserves a better life than this. They've done Otto so dirty.
This is for educators and parents. I'm Jill, and today I'm going to share Hans Christian Andersen's famous and funny folktale that has a very important lesson for all of us to remember. Oh, thanks, Otto.
Oh, Otto.
Thanks, Otto. Kind of fun. Thank you, Otto.
I wonder if she's Otto, fuck off. The fuck, Otto. We're doing a segment. What the fuck is wrong with stop giving me tacky dollar store shit? Otto, what the fuck is wrong with you? Chill.
I'm good. It's called The Emperor's New...
Oh, you didn't know, Jangles? Welcome. Oh, yes. No. You know how they're always talking about how, you know, it's the lefts and the liberals. They're trying so hard to indoctrinate our kids. You better watch out. Otherwise, the lefties, they'll come for your kids, you know. with their kink at Pride and all their kink, and they're gonna kink pride you, and they'll pride up your kink, and if you're not careful, they might kink your pride. And at the same time, it's like, by the way, here's our new children's series to indoctrinate your children. Every single one of the children's like lessons so far has been about American exceptionalism, how glorious and wondrous it is, and also communism bad, socialism bad, all the things that kids really want to learn about. You know, when you're a kid, it's like, oh, could I watch the new Marvel movies? No, we're gonna learn about American exceptionalism today.
Once upon a time, there lived an emperor who loved fancy new clothes. Jackets woven with gold, trousers laced with silver, made with the softest and most lavish materials. The emperor spent his fortune buying new costumes for every hour of every day, and rarely paid attention to his people, his army, or anything else. One day, 2 mysterious travelers came to town. They quickly told everyone how they designed the most beautiful outfits money can buy. They described a most fascinating and peculiar quality that only their garments possessed. The clothes they made had the power to become invisible to those who were not smart enough to see them in plain sight. Those must be very special and valuable clothes, the emperor thought. I must get some of my own so that I may find out who in my empire is not wise enough to serve on my staff. The emperor then paid the travelers a large sum of money so they could begin their work. The travelers snickered as they took the emperor's payment, then set up 2 looms to begin their project. They called for the finest silks and threads to be delivered to them. Then they began to weave nothing, day and night. They toiled away, weaving nothing that could be seen by anyone. As for the silks and threads that were delivered to them, well, the travelers took those for themselves. About this time, the emperor was curious to see how his new wardrobe was coming along, so he sent his most intelligent advisor to check on the 2 men's work. Seeing the looms, the advisor gasped.
Oh no, we've had insider stories. We've had whistleblowers. We had someone pop in the chat once who's like, yeah, me and a lot of animator friends know that there's always really high-paying jobs available for you from conservative outlets like PragerU. So they have to take these jobs, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, you're not gonna be proud about it, but.
This eventually led me to the kingpin of the operation, pictured here. In order to better communicate with and manipulate the public, he has chosen the initial test subject of his medicinal experiments, now known as Dennis Prager, as his avatar, while he himself produces the elixir that fuels his acolytes. Otto, which is of course an acronym for Obfuscatory Training Targeting Oppressors, discovered roughly 10 years ago that his testicular secretions, when consumed by humans exposed to Fox News or Harry Potter, could alter the expansive network of dormant neurons within their brains to be more receptive to the dumbest ideas in the known universe. With the help of his loyal assistant, Otto is able to fill several jars a day with the active ingredient of his elixir and ship it by the gallon to more and more willing consumers, using his previous subjects as the initiators of the positive feedback loop that brings new ones.
Chud, what the fuck are you doing? Chud!
This ingredient, known in the scientific community as dog cummies, is vital for the continued functioning of Artie Morty and those like him.
Now, I haven't spoken to Artie Morty or anyone else on
Jingles, that's a great cameo to have. That's a fantastic. Oh wow, great cameo. 10 out of 10. Hey everybody, go subscribe to Jangle's channel, please. Where else are you gonna find content like that? Where else are you gonna get the dog cum theory? All right. I don't think anyone else will. So true. The highest paid video jobs are all from conservative outlets. I've seen PragerU, Heritage Foundation, Turning Point hiring for great salaries, but I can never bring myself to apply. Yeah, I mean, fuck. I would never shame a single person for taking one of those jobs, though. I mean, you gotta eat.
Where are all the clothes? He silently thought. But he dared not say it out loud for fear that the whole town would think him foolish. What do you think of the designs? Aren't they beautiful? The workers asked eagerly, knowing that their looms were, in fact, empty. The advisor was dumbfounded. Yes, they're remarkable, he replied, to not let on that he did not see any material at all. The men then described all the colors, stitches, and patterns in detail, and the advisor listened closely so he could accurately report back to the emperor. The travelers then demanded more money to finish their work. The advisor paid them and returned to the palace. The emperor soon sent another trusted advisor to check on the progress. He too saw nothing on the looms, but praised the men's work to not seem like a fool. Finally, the emperor went to get his new wardrobe. He was excited to see what everyone was now talking about as being the most elegant and magnificent wardrobe an emperor would ever wear. Entering the room, the emperor was shocked. There are no clothes here, he thought. But he didn't want to look like a fool, so he pretended to see what everyone else said they saw. "Why don't you try on your new clothes?" one of the travelers suggested. So the emperor did. He pulled on invisible pants, an invisible shirt, an invisible jacket, and topped off his ensemble with an invisible hat. The two men even helped him adjust an invisible belt. But really, the emperor was wearing nothing. The emperor then set out on a walk to show everyone in his town the outfit that only smart people would be able to see. The town's
Again, all that like kerflaw about kink and pride, and they're making this shit for children. Like, come on. You can't tell me that this isn't appropriate.
to see. The townspeople applauded and complimented him. What handsome garments! What luxurious materials! Each person was too scared to admit that the emperor wasn't wearing any clothes at all, for fear their neighbors would think them
Appreciate
fools.
that.
The emperor then started to feel very good about himself in his new clothes. Then, out from the crowd, a child stepped up and shouted, "He has nothing on!" The townspeople looked at each other, looked at the emperor, gasped, and then agreed, one by one, until everyone admitted the same truth. "You're right, he has nothing on."
It's true. And let's be honest, this is the story of Dennis Prager. This is 100% what Dennis Prager does every single day. He comes out there and he's like, "I've got a university. It's a real university. You should learn some lessons from my real university that has real lessons and educational seminars." And it's all nonsense. It's just fucking a naked old gross man with no penis. It's a naked old gross man standing there with no penis, and anyone who's worth their salt can see it. They'll look up and be like, "Holy shit, that's Dennis Prager. Yeah, the man wears no clothes."
Townspeople were too foolish to see his fancy new clothes, even though he knew he wasn't wearing any and that the travelers had lied to him. "I must keep up this act," he thought, "to not look like a fool." The emperor returned to his palace, his advisors still too frightened to admit the new clothes were a lie.
Am I wrong?
Eventually, the emperor
Am I
asked
wrong?
the two travelers to make new clothes for his
The
advisors
deaded
too,
one, thank you.
so that they could all wear invisible garments. Because
Like, look at this. This is 100% the boardrooms of PragerU. This is how PragerU videos are made. That's Dennis Prager right there. Again, scientifically proven, no penis. Look, like, this is why we say free Otto. This is why we're always like, you got a free Otto, because like the poor boy is subjected to this daily.
because they were too scared to admit that they had all been fooled. And for the rest of their days, they looked like fools to everyone else. The end. This is one of my favorite stories ever because it reminds us that truth is real. There is only one truth, and it's important for us to learn how to find it and to not be afraid to speak up for it, even if no one else will.
What's the one truth? You got to tell us. Don't leave us hanging.
Someone sees another person speak up for truth, more start speaking up too. Otto! Oh, well, thank you. Hey, do you think it was hard for the townspeople to admit that something was wrong? Yes, but protecting truth is always important for all of us. Never forget that, okay? All right. Thank you for watching Otto's Tales. Check out some of our other stories too. Keep reading, keep watching, and never be afraid to tell the truth. Good boy. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I like my new hat. We're so glad you joined us for today.
Tell the truth, everybody. It's not the truth. It's the truth, you know? There's only one truth that happens to be extremely specific brand of Christianity. Well, yeah, I know. That's the one. The one truth is the Lord our God, our Savior, our white Jesus. It's got to be white Jesus. You can't have any other Jesus. It's got to be white Jesus. Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, you know, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks why do older generations believe the things they believe, one of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our wonderful gods, Xander Corvus, VK Jehannam, T. Grow, and Peyton L. Just, may you smite all of our enemies. To our monarchs, Tom Spiker and the Tim Caucus, we are your humble servants, ready to do all your bidding. To our lords, Evan Nudie, Trevor R., Alexander Thaler, Ryan Lubin, and Jeff Lamb, we shall proudly carry your banner on the online battlefield. To our Knights of the Round Table, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Dark Puppy, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Chronic de Hemphog, Phone Jenny, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Jimmy Big Nuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Yopi, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our glass and we raise our swords and we salute you.